Kapade Guam, and welcome to KWAM News Extra. I'm Sonia Artero, and it is great to be back on Guam. As part of a strategic plan to end homelessness on Guam, the island first participated in a homeless count back in the year 2000. That count was initially conducted in response to a request by the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority, who acts as a lead agency for Guam's homeless coalition. But as a consequence of a budget shortfall for GURA, this year's count will be conducted by the Salvation Army Guam Corps, which will take place on Thursday, January 25th. Joining me to discuss this enormous undertaking are two Salvation Army representatives. I'd like to introduce Simeon Keeling, who is the Director of the Family Services for the Salvation Army, along with Gail Hargreaves, who is the leader of this year's homeless count. Thank you very much for coming on, both of you, and Happy New Year, by the way.
You too.
Same to you.
Thank you very much. Now, first off, what is your definition of homelessness?
Well, the definition of homelessness that we use is a combination from the Stuart B. McKinley Homeless Assistance Act passed by Congress in 1987, HUD and the Guam Homeless Coalition. By our definition, a person is homeless if he or she does not have a nighttime residence that is not fixed, such as a tent, canopy, or vehicle, not regular, not adequate, or not meant for human habitation.
Now, is it different, homelessness, the definition by what you just described, is it different for Guam versus other areas in the U.S. mainland? Like, did you guys have to massage that definition to, like, assist Guam in collecting the data?
Well, that was particularly one of the reasons why the Homeless Coalition oversaw that definition before it was actually something that we implemented into our point-in-time census. It was reviewed locally to see, because we don't, for instance, see or review some of the same things that we would in the U.S. mainland.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we pointed that out, because homelessness here is considered different from the U.S. mainland. So
yes.
Tell us what participating in this homeless count will actually mean for Guam in the end.
It can be very beneficial for Guam if we come up with the accurate count. Guam can benefit in many ways in terms of financial assistance. And that's the key word there, financial assistance. For example, the ones they had in the past, sometimes they're wondering if they reached everybody. So we're trying to ask that. I mean, the point is, if we reach everyone, then we're hoping that the assistance for Guam will be greater.
Now, this is the first time I'm covering this topic as far as the homeless count is concerned. I've talked about homeless topics here on News Extra before, but I wanted people to understand the difficulty that faces you, the Salvation Army, because it's your undertaking this year alone. What do you guys need to do to ensure that you reach all the homeless on Guam and ensure that those numbers are correct?
That's why we're asking a lot of volunteers. We're asking, the more volunteers we have, I think the greater our chances will be to reach out and touch, find all the ones that we will not be able to find. For example, looking at the villages of Chico and Derido, that's a big area to cover. So let's say if you only assign 6 teams to cover the whole area, maybe we won't be able to find them. And at the same time, we're also counting the assistance of the mayors, because they know who is homeless and where the homeless people congregate or hang out. So with their assistance, we will be able to find all the homeless people in those villages.
I'm glad that you mentioned teams, because obviously it's going to take a village to ensure this enormous undertaking will be seen to fruition. So tell us, what will teams be comprised of? What makes up a team?
Okay.
Well, each individual team is consisted of 3 people. There is an appointed team leader, and that is the person that is responsible to interview and approach a designated person on the point-in-time count. There is a team assistant which helps the leader, might provide an additional service if needed as far as when they're asking the questions. We'll be giving out gift bags or assistance to the homeless on the point in time count, so they will be transporting some of that from the vehicle. And then there is a driver that stays with the vehicle at all times, and they'll be driving to each location where the homeless is located, as well as providing a general safety overview of staying with the vehicle to ensure that everything is okay.
And then once you locate the homeless, there is what is called an interview process, right? How does that actually work? Like, what are the top 3 things that you ask them?
Well, there's a survey form that we have used in years past, and that consists of about 14 questions, anywhere from their gender to what ethnicity they are, what language that they speak, their reasons or factors of being homeless, and it will help with some of the data that we are expected to present to HUD.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because some of those factors and more of the statistics we'll get into later on, so please stay with us.